We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Cage My IQ. I am your host, D-Bake. Tonight I bring you the Bellator 256 recap and results. We had a 5-fight card for you tonight, which was kind of a lackluster one. There was only one finish tonight, and then the other 4 fights were all to the decision. But let's get started with the first fight on the card, which was a matchup where you saw Dan Moret defeat Gote Yamauchi by split decision. I was kind of surprised by this, but then when you look at the scorecard right here that we have right up here, I could see that why they would go this way. Yeah, you had Yamauchi, who only had total strikes, and he only had 26 attempts, and then he had 18 strikes, to Moret, who had 51 total throws, and then he connected on 33. And then punches, which was the factor right there, he had 31 to 15, and then Yamauchi only connected 10 of those, whereas Moret connected 17. And then Moret had 4 elbow attempts, which he connected on 3. They're pretty even with kicks. Knees was all Dan Moret, but then Yamauchi had 6 takedown attempts. He only got 1 to Moret's 3 attempts, where he connected on 1. So a lot of these things were even, but I think where they gave Moret the victory was with the strikes. He almost tripled Yamauchi's strikes, and then Yamauchi, he controlled more on his takedown attempt that he had, but just production-wise, Moret had more production, so that's why they gave him the split decision in this one. So at first I was like, what? Why did they give Moret this? But then once I saw the numbers, I was like, okay, that's why. That's why they gave him the victory. The second fight on the card was the only finish on this one, and it was a bout between Kat Zingano and Olivia Parker, where we saw Kat Zingano submit Olivia Parker in the first round with an armbar. This is classic Kat Zingano for you. She was given this matchup with somebody making her debut in a Bellator, and then she feasted on her with that armbar. This is what you expect from Kat Zingano. She beats the people that she's supposed to beat, and then she either squeezes by the top talent or she gets beaten by them. She got by this one. It's a nice matchup for her to get some confidence again. She needs to build up that rapport in Bellator before she can challenge somebody better off. She needs to get better on the striking, but it's good to see that she was able to get that quick submission, so she can likely probably get booked again in the next couple months. But moving on from that to the third fight on the card, we had a matchup where we saw Adam Borks defeat Jeremy Kenny by unanimous decision. This was all Borks for me in this matchup. If you look at the scorecard right here, he threw a total of 119 strikes to Jeremy Kennedy's 94. He connected on 31 of his 96 punches, whereas Kennedy connected on 19 of 76. He was perfect with his elbows, 2 for 2, where Kennedy didn't throw any, and then Borks also threw 18 of 18 kicks, whereas Kennedy only had 11 of 15. And then knees, they're dead even at 1 for 3. And then takedowns, Kennedy had 2 of 6, and then Borks didn't have any. But with this one, even with the takedowns, the takedowns were kind of too late. I think they were both in the third round. Well, the one was in the third round, and then the one was at the end of the second round. But in that second round, Borks did so much damage that it didn't really matter for that takedown because Borks had already won that round. He did a lot of damage in the first and second round, which allowed him to pick this up. And then when Kennedy came in the third round and did his damage, it was already won by Borks because, as you can see, he had him 96. He had him total 52-31 strike wise, and then with the takedowns, that was the only chance that Kennedy would have later on. But because the first one was so late, he wasn't able to edge out that second round. So Borks wound up winning 29-28 on most of the scorecards. I think one person did 28-29, but I thought it was too much for Kennedy to get 2 rounds. I had it 2-1 Borks over Kennedy. So as you can see right there, with the other 2 judges, they went the right way. So Borks won by unanimous decision. And the co-main event of the evening, which was Rory Bourne, that a lot of people were questioning why they made it the co-main event. You had Liz Carmucci defeat Vanessa Porto by unanimous decision. The first 2 rounds, it was a lot of sizing up and fighting from a distance. Each fighter didn't do too much. They were kind of like playing patty cake with their hands while they were trying to size up the other one. There was a lot of kicks thrown by Porto in the second round, and then Carmucci was just fearing her up. But then the action picked up in the third round where Carmucci would try to take down Porto, and then she would get stuffed. But then at the end, she did get her down and then controlled her for a good minute or so, basically to end the fight. I kind of thought that this should have went the other way. I had Vanessa Porto win at least 2 rounds to 1, but the judges had it Liz Carmucci, 30-27, 30-27, and then 29-28. So I don't know what the judges saw with this, because Vanessa Porto was definitely the more aggressive fighter. She had a bunch of kicks. Her offense was more indicative of this fight, even though that it was very boring and not much going on. But I didn't see much other than that takedown in the end of the third round from Carmucci, unless they saw just enough in the first 2 rounds to give them to her because it was so close. But this is for Vanessa Porto. This is the exact reason why she should have went in and went for a more dominant performance, because you can't expect the judges to give you that fight there. It was so close. You got to give them no reason to have to judge this. You got to win yourself by submission or knockout. You can't just make it so close that you have to hope that the judges see the same thing that you saw. And that's not what happened. And Liz Carmucci walked out with that unanimous decision over Vanessa Porto. Moving on to the main event, the first round of the Grand Prix, we have a matchup between Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida, which we saw Ryan Bader defeat Lyoto Machida by unanimous decision. As you can see right there, he dominated the fight. He had his way. He landed more than Machida did, and then he controlled on the ground for the majority of the fight. As you can see, it says Ryan Darth Vader because he won. The first round was like a feeling up for these two. I kind of gave Machida the first round because he had his 2 leg kicks to the body, and Bader didn't do too much. He just stood there and then was touching gloves a couple of times. By round 2, that's when Ryan Bader got started. Halfway through, he started doing he did a leg kick from himself, and then he actually caught Machida with a nice uppercut. By round 3, that's when Darth Vader took over with the ground game. He shot several times, and then whenever he got the takedown, it was easy for him to just use his leverage to pull Machida down, and then he held him down basically for the next 3 rounds and threw a bunch of elbows and shots to the face to Machida, where at one point he had a black eye. Machida had a black eye that was basically so noticeable that we had a lot of fans calling for Machida's group to have him end the fight because he was taking so much damage and he wasn't really getting up. There's points where Bader was pushing back because it looked like he was going to let him get up, but then Machida just stayed laying down and then didn't really do anything to help the situation. He just laid down, and then Bader was like, okay, I'm going to just come back on top and continue the ground and pound, and that's what he did. It's very tough for fighters to get up from Bader because he has that great grappling on the ground. Like the thing with Bader is sometimes he's his own worst enemy, where instead of trying to stand up and trade, he should just go for the takedown and ground and pound because he's so dominant there. I think that's what lost him the fight with Nadim Nemkov, was he wanted to trade with Nemkov and he got clipped. This is vintage Bader, and then this is what he needs to do for the rest of the Grand Prix. He needs to go for the takedown, ground and pound, wear out his opponent, and then if he wants to later on when already worn out, trying to go for the knockout, do so. But use the early rounds to completely rail him down, because as long as you get those 2-3 rounds in the bag early, you're good. Unless they finish you, you're not going to lose. And I think that's what Ryan Bader needs to do in order to win this Grand Prix and then try to get his light heavyweight championship back from Nadim Nemkov. That is our quick Bellator recap / results for you tonight. Bellator 256. Next week we have Bellator 257, which is the main event between Nadim Nemkov versus Phil Davis. The co-main event is Corey Anderson's debut against a newcomer to the division. And then you got Phil Davis fighting in the third fight. But we got a nice stack card for you next week. Check it out. I'll be releasing my Bellator 257 preview around midweek. So check that out. And then, as always, this is Cage My IQ. You can, as you can see below in the ticker, you can find us live on every Monday, and you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram there. Subscribe or follow our pages there, and then go to our Twitch page every Monday night at 8:30 as we go live to recap all the UFC events. And our URL for Twitch is twitch.tv/CageMyIQ. Give us a follow, subscribe to our page, send us some comments, and then don't forget to go to our YouTube page after you watch this video and subscribe to our page there, which is Cage My IQ, and then leave us a comment on the screen. When I post the comment that's going to be on our YouTube link for this will be, who do you think will win the Grand Prix for Bellator light heavyweight division? Let me know, and I'll let you know who I think is going to win. But I am D-Big, and that all you guys have a nice rest of your night.
Thank you for watching this episode of Cage My IQ on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.